The confirmed number of coronavirus cases in Los Angeles County comes to 944,319. The confirmed number of deaths reaches 12,674. Here in Torrance, the total number of confirmed cases is 4,979, with total confirmed deaths at 105. Welcome to COVID-19 Today. I'm Rhiannon Trutanich. It's 4 p.m. on Tuesday, January 12th. More COVID-19 vaccines are on the way as the Trump administration greenlights a distribution of the required second doses from both Pfizer and Moderna. U.S. Health and Human Services Secretary Alex Azar says the government will no longer hold back the second doses. He also says states should immediately start vaccinating more people, including everyone 65 years and older and those under 65 who have certain health problems. These announcements come after President-elect Joe Biden said on Friday that he plans to rapidly release most available vaccine doses to protect more people. Azar says they've been holding back the vaccine as a safety stock, but now believe they have enough second doses from ongoing production. As of Monday morning, the government distributed about 25.5 million doses and about 9 million people got their first shots. Today's news roughly doubles the available supply as mass vaccination centers open across the country. California is in the process of evaluating the new federal guidance. Dr. Mark Ghaly, the state's Secretary of Health and Human Services, says Governor Gavin Newsom directed the drafting guidelines work group and the Community Vaccine Advisory Committee to meet today to go over the guidance and implement them for Californians. He says updates should be announced in the next 24 hours and changes should be implemented statewide immediately. He adds the next steps include opening the large-scale vaccination sites across the state, including the Dodger Stadium in LA. Dr. Ghaly noted the limited supply of the vaccine allocated for the state is still a concern, and they're actively working on how to distribute it in as equitable a way as possible while continuing to focus on those who are most exposed to the virus. Dr. Ghaly shared that there are 36,487 new COVID-19 cases today, and the state crossed 30,000 deaths since the beginning of the pandemic. But on a slightly positive note, he adds that the rate of new COVID-19 hospital admissions has declined recently from 3,500 patients a day to 2,500 over the last 2 days. Dr. Ghaly upheld Newsom's pledge to vaccinate 1 million more people by this weekend, and the governor's office tweeted this morning, quote, "We must get COVID-19 vaccines out of freezers and into California's communities to safely reopen our schools and our small businesses." Los Angeles County's public health officials are asking some residents to wear masks at home as the COVID-19 cases continue to rise. They say every minute in the county, about 10 people test positive for the coronavirus, and every 8 minutes, someone dies from it. They are calling this pandemic the county's worst disaster in decades as it approaches a total of 1 million cases. Because the rate of the spread has become so out of control, Public Health Director Dr. Barbara Ferrer says officials are now recommending that anyone who lives with someone who may be especially vulnerable to COVID-19 wear a face covering at home. More than 12,000 people have died from COVID-19 so far in LA County, 1,500 of those during the past week. Overworked doctors, nurses, and emergency medical technicians brace themselves for another possible surge as new cases from New Year's festivities are expected. Starting Monday, the Public Health Department expanded the vaccination program to include all healthcare workers within Tiers 2 and 3 in Phase 1A. An online hub helps healthcare workers who qualify to sign up. The county plans to complete 500,000 additional vaccinations among healthcare workers by the end of January. Students who plan to study at the University of California this fall can do so on campus. The university system announced this week that all 10 of its campuses will return to in-person classes when the fall 2021 quarter or semester begins. UC President Michael Drake wrote in a statement, quote, "Current forecasts give us hope that in the fall our students can enjoy a more normal on-campus experience." Drake came to this decision after consulting with the chancellors of all UC campuses. A UC Irvine spokesperson says they will not require vaccinations to return to campus. The UC Student Association wants vulnerable student populations to be a part of the reopening plan discussions. Details on the reopening have not yet been revealed. The happiest place on earth will soon become Orange County's first super site for COVID-19 vaccinations. Thousands of residents can get their shots at the Disneyland Resort daily when the site opens later this week. This will be one of 5 super pods, or point of dispensing sites, announced by Orange County officials. Each have the capacity to vaccinate thousands of people every day. The vaccines will only be available to those who qualify through the state's tiered system. Currently, those who are in Phase 1A are eligible to receive the shots. Most of those people should have been contacted by their employers to schedule an appointment through a third-party app. The county plans to vaccinate all of its residents by July 4th. Gorillas in San Diego have tested positive for the coronavirus. The executive director of the San Diego Zoo Safari Park says a troop of 8 gorillas that live together are believed to have the virus. 2 of them were seen coughing last Wednesday, and fecal tests confirm the presence of SARS-CoV-2. These may be the first known cases of its kind in the U.S. and possibly even the world. Park officials think the infection may have come from an employee who tested positive but was asymptomatic and wore a mask at all times around the gorillas. The park has been closed to the public since December 6th as a part of the state's lockdown efforts to curb the spread of the virus. Park officials plan to share what they learn with conservationists, health officials, and scientists to develop steps to protect gorillas in Africa. COVID-19 cases may be soaring, but seasonal flu cases dropped significantly compared to last year. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention reported more than 65,000 cases of influenza during the 2019 flu season from September 29th to December 28th. During the same period in 2020, that number dropped to just 1,016 cases. Health experts say a record number of people got the flu shot. As of Christmas Day, more than 192 million doses had been distributed, which a CDC official says is the highest number of doses distributed in the U.S. in a single flu season. Flu vaccine manufacturers expect to provide as many as 198 million doses to the U.S. by the end of the season, which may last as late as May. Health experts also credit hand washing, mask wearing, and social distancing as factors that may have led to the low flu cases. However, they also note that the drop happened while the coronavirus has been spreading uncontrollably. Doctors say it shows that COVID-19 is more contagious and less forgiving when proper safety precautions are not taken. They also say the coronavirus is more infectious because it can be asymptomatic. CDC researchers found that people who don't show symptoms may be responsible for 59% of COVID-19 transmissions. Doctors are running a clinical trial to see if an antidepressant can help in the fight against the coronavirus. Researchers at the Washington University of St. Louis are recruiting 1,100 people who are in the beginning stages of COVID-19 to test out a drug called fluvoxamine, which is also known as Luvox. Antidepressants have anti-inflammatory properties, and inflammation plays a key role in COVID-19, which could lead to blood clots and swollen COVID toes. Researchers are speeding up their efforts by mailing the medicine directly to participants' homes around the country instead of having them come to the testing site. The patients will monitor their own health and report back to the study staff. Doctors say this process will allow them to get results in weeks instead of months and hope they can gain some new insights between the drug and the virus. The Santa Monica Pier will close on weekends through the end of this month in an effort to slow the spread of COVID-19. The iconic landmark in Southern California announced the news this week, saying they're doing this out of an abundance of caution. The pier will temporarily be closed on all Saturdays and Sundays in January, as well as on Monday, January 18th, which is Martin Luther King Jr. Day. It's not clear at this time if the closures will extend into February. The pier posted this on social media, saying in part, "Stay safe out there, friends, and we'll get through this together." We're just about 6 months away from the 2021 Tokyo Olympics, but an overwhelming number of those surveyed say the event should be canceled. More than 80% of the people in Japan who took part in 2 polls over the past few days say the Olympics should either be canceled or postponed, or say they don't think the Olympics will take place. The polls were conducted by Japanese news agency Kyodo and the Tokyo Broadcasting System. And you're probably aware the Tokyo Olympics was originally set for last summer, but due to the pandemic, it's been pushed back a year. The International Olympic Committee plans to begin the Olympics on July 23rd. Tokyo has experienced a surge of COVID-19 cases recently, prompting the national government to call a state of emergency last week. Today, Japanese Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga announced plans to widen the state of emergency beyond Tokyo to include the 3 western prefectures of Hyogo, Kyoto, and Osaka. Last week, the Prime Minister said he was confident the Olympics would be held, but the polls show that many people in Japan aren't as sure. About 15,000 Olympic and Paralympic athletes would be arriving this summer if plans follow through, and the Olympics could also bring tens of thousands of broadcasters, sponsors, and VIPs to the country. We're not told at this time if local or international fans will be allowed to attend the events. About 3,900 people in Japan have died from COVID-19 so far, and about 294,000 have tested positive for the virus. More than $1 billion in lottery grand prizes could be given out this week. On Monday, the Mega Millions jackpot hit $615 million. That's the 4th largest amount in the game's history. And the Powerball jackpot sits at $550 million. That amount is the 9th largest in the game's history and the highest amount in almost 2 years. The California State Lottery says this is the first time since October of 2018 that both jackpots reached more than $500 million. The next Mega Millions drawing is today, while the Powerball draw is tomorrow. Powerball officials warn players to play responsibly and within their budgets. They also remind everyone to follow social distancing protocols when purchasing lottery tickets during this pandemic. The Torrance City Council will meet tonight for the first time in 2021. The public portion of the meeting begins promptly at 7 p.m. and city leaders will be going over several agenda items. The council will read Police Chief Eve Berg's retirement proclamation. Chief Berg retired on Friday after 38 years in law enforcement. She is expected to say a few words following the presentation. Council members will adjourn the meeting in memory of Howard Corman, a Torrance Symphony Board member, the husband of City Commissioner Dale Corman, and father-in-law of former Councilman Cliff Newmark. The city leaders will discuss COVID-19 recovery updates and respond to the county and state's orders. And council will review the final parcel map that allows for a 3-unit condo development on the 1600 block of Crenshaw Boulevard near Sonoma Street. Many more agenda items will be discussed. You can watch the meeting live right here on Torrance City Cable or on multiple platforms available online. Well, before we go, at the end of each program, we like to share stories from our community, feel-good pictures, images, and videos that remind us of how resilient our community is and how Torrance truly cares. Red Car Brewery in downtown Torrance teamed up with South Bay Mommies and Daddies to provide warm meals for our frontline heroes at Torrance Memorial. The local restaurant provided 60 meals, while a neighboring small business in El Segundo provided food for a little company of Mary in San Pedro. South Bay mommies and daddies have been challenging South Bay groups and individuals to give back during this challenging time, and we love seeing updates like this that show how much our neighbors care. If you have a great story to share, email us at covid19today@torranceca.gov. We'd love to hear from you. Well, that's our update for COVID-19 today. Be sure to tune in tomorrow as Christine Lee brings you the latest. Be safe, stay healthy, and thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.